So today we're going to be continuing to take a look at a scenario where civilization starts over. We are now on episode 31 of the series, and in the previous episode we saw the conclusion of World War II, in which the Square Alliance achieved victory. So the old empire, the Russians, and the Norwegians were able to beat the Triangle Alliance, which has very clearly been reduced. And if you haven't seen that episode, then I apologize. This might have just ruined the series for you. But I'm not really going to go into too much recap. You know, the Triangle team lost, the Brown team lost. The old empire is huge now. India gained land. And there's a lot of events in that video which you're going to need to know before we get into this one. So if you haven't fully watched the video, it's highly recommended that you do. Otherwise, nothing is going to make sense in this episode and from here on out. But today we will be focusing mostly on the colonies, which were just released by their European overlords. And we'll be seeing what each of these colonies do now that they are free. So if you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. All the support is greatly appreciated. And let's go ahead and jump straight into the scenario. Alright, so like I said, all the colonies in the world for the most part are free now. There's only like one, and that's the one over here in the Horn of Africa, owned by the Iberian team. There's probably a few dotted around that I just completely missed, and if I do notice that I missed them, then I'll be sure to go ahead and set them free. But the only country that is like ignoring all this is going to be the Irish country. They weren't involved in the war, and their colonies will get released later on in the series. They don't have the issues that the other Europeans did. We also know that the Chinese team was very weird in this war. They ended up joining the side of the Square team, and their main goal was to decolonize Oceania and also Africa. They are in favor of a world without any colonization. Now, most people would probably come to the conclusion that they're hypocrites, and that would make sense. I mean, they have the Philippines, they have New Guinea, and they have Australia. These are foreign lands, they're not theirs. So is that kind of hypocritical? Yes, but China said that they were willing to join the war and put aside their colonies and free them if it meant that they would also get rid of any European influence in East Asia and Africa. So that was their thinking process there. Now we can actually officially get over to the whole colony thing. So let's go ahead and draw these new countries. We'll be starting in North America, moving to South America, then Africa, and finishing off in Oceania. And I do want to say, I do not have provinces for these areas. So the drawing of the borders is going to be fairly just random, which is nice, but I'll have to draw in these provinces on my own one day. You guys should be seeing this video on September 14th. I'm recording this on August 18th. This is one of the very many pre-recorded videos that you guys have been seeing over the past month. And I do plan on, as of right now, pre-recording 2 more of these videos after this one. And basically, I just want to make sure that I have a bunch of videos saved for all of September. And then I'll start officially recording again in my own dorm room in October. So yeah, if anyone is interested, that's kind of what I'm doing right now. That's my plan. For me, on August 18th, I leave for college in 4 days. So it gives me enough time to pack and record these videos. So that's really my only priority right now. And of course, you know, spending time with people that I won't see for the next coming months, but I'm going to be able to make it work. I'm that guy. So starting with the Canadian country. This colony, like all of the other European colonies, is just released. It's given independence, and this whole big thing is one country now. Now, the issue is that this country is extremely unstable. Most of its population does live down here in the south, in like the New York / New England area, but they also have some people living up here along the Hudson Bay and near Lake Superior. And the very many regions within this country will all come together and decide that yes, there probably should be some splitting up, and they will sit down and negotiate the Treaty of Canada. Now, would it actually be called Canada in this universe? Probably not. But in the end, we have the country being divided up like this into 4 different countries, with the main one and the strongest being this pink country down here in southern Canada / in New England. We then have a gold one over here, a green one over here. This one would probably be called Hudson if I had to make a guess. Then again, different universe, so probably not. And then we have a very large one over here. This one, it's weak. No one's living there, but it exists, so cool. If anyone's interested in the capitals, these guys will have their capital in New York City, ironically enough. Gold one will have theirs right here, the green one over here. And finally, the big one will have their major city capital be right on the border with the green one. Now, these guys are all chill with each other for the most part. There's no real beef, you know, they were all a colony together, but the same cannot be said for their friends down south in the Americas. This is the Brown team's former colony, and like the ones up north, it was given independence. But there is a lot of turmoil within this one because this country on its own, united together, is very strong. Looking at the major city map kind of gives us some insight of, the population numbers and just how big this guy's economy is. And, there's tons of major cities here, which kind of lets us know that this is a very strong country. The issue is that it doesn't want to stay together, and there's multiple regions within that want to break away. So for the most part, the country is going to let some of these areas break away, some of which are too far away to really control. The first country to break away is going to be this ginormous northwestern territory that includes Alaska and a lot of British Columbia and whatever this territory was called. I don't know, I'm not Canadian. This is a huge country, and it's also, not really as weak as you think it would be. It does have a lot of population down in this area over here where Vancouver is, but they are way too far out of reach for the central government to control, which the central government is going to be in DC because, simplicity's sake, right? Now, let's actually put it somewhere else. Let's put it in this area of South Carolina, why not? But that is way too far to control, and they let it go. The next up is the southern Mexican / Guatemalan country right here. Again, too far away to really control. And then we have a Yucatan country being formed right over here. And this is what North America is looking like at this point. Now for Hawaii, they will be released as their own independent country, and this is like one of our, what is happening? This is like one of our first island nation countries. I guess the Indonesian islands, those count. This one is way out in the middle of nowhere. They don't have a single major city on their island, so we do have to kind of improvise. We do have to kind of improvise there and give them one, even though, spawning in a major city isn't too realistic. But the central government is now feeling a lot better about themselves. They've released a bunch of countries, but there is still one slight issue, and that is the western part of their country is very wanting to break away. So they will have to give in. They're not ready to fight a war amongst themselves just yet, although such an event does seem like it's likely to happen. They also have an issue with the other countries that were just released up north. These borders are unofficial. They were never, officially documented in a document. There's no official treaty in place holding these borders. So that's something they also need fixed before it gets out of hand. Anyway, for our next country being released, we have this whole big Western Mexico thing happening. This country did have a lot of population within it, so it was kind of hard for the central government to get rid of it, but it had to happen in order for this whole thing to work out. And at this stage, they are still kind of having their doubts about it. So they will make one final move in hopes of creating stability within their new country, although they were really hanging on a thread here because this thing is, it's too much at once. If maybe they were slowly given independence and were given time to set up their own central government, then maybe this would be a lot smoother, but it just didn't happen that way. They lost the war and they were just spit out and left on their own. So the final country they will be spitting out is this very large California / Western thing, and that will be it. They will try to retain the rest of their territory, and if they had to fight a war, then they might just do that. But this country is looking good on the map. I mean, it's basically the United States, but it's not. It's not as powerful as the USA. It doesn't have the same influence that it does. And it was just born in 1950, so yeah. And I think I'm liking this kind of turquoise color. Ah yes, I'm very notoriously known for being very good at colors. I don't know why. I guess I haven't really taken that many art classes in my life, so I mean that's not true. I was in honors art in middle school, but that doesn't mean anything. Here is our North America minus the Caribbean and all of the old Dark Scienteam's countries. It's looking good. I'm liking it. I think this is actually perfect. And yeah, the province map doesn't mean anything. I need to update this. These need to be divided up a little bit more. There appears to be some states here. Is that like a Georgia or a Missouri? There's Florida, Texas. I mean, this is Virginia and West Virginia. That's weird. If you don't know the context, we did this all in a live stream. Like this is Africa, and then there's, I think, mini Africa or Wisconsin within it. So yeah, weird things happening. But now to Central America. And as for this country, they are going to be very similar to the Canadian country, where they agree that, it's going to be too hard to maintain under one whole constitution. So let's divide up and let's try to be friendly with each other. So the Caribbean islands are all released under one nation, and their capital will be based over here in Cuba. Kind of like, I mean, it's not really in the center of it all, but if you were to draw a circle, that's not a circle. If you were to draw a circle around that capital, I mean, it's pretty close. It doesn't really encompass all of Puerto Rico though. But that's probably as good as you're going to get unless you put it on this island, but that's probably not too good. So moving on to Central America now. These guys will all release together and go over to half of Panama. And is there a Panama Canal in this universe? I'm going to go ahead and say yes, most definitely, because otherwise you would have to be sailing through the Drake Passage, which is, I've heard, is not a very good thing to do, especially if you're under the age of 18. But we have a new Central American country being formed here, with their capital right about there. Now we move on to South America, and South America is a very interesting continent to this point, because there's 4 countries on it, which is weird, because in real life, there's a lot more than just 4. Of course, you have this country here, which stems from the Lime Team, you have the Irish colony, which is still here, and then you have the Purple Team country right here, which was released by the African Union a few episodes ago. It might have been more than a few, it might have been like 10. You know, this series is getting old. But as for these guys, they are going to follow in the footsteps of their European colonizers, and they're going to divide up their own territory with horrible lines. The straight line plague has reached South America. Now they will, follow some natural stuff. I actually don't know if there's any natural stuff here. I'm not very good at geography. But this straight line curse is real. And at the end of it all, we have this country being formed. It's icky, it's gross, but it just has to happen. Straight lines, they're not great on the maps, but they need to happen sometimes. I think we can all agree with that, right? I mean, don't get me wrong. I love natural, non-straight borders. I think it looks great. But I think because of our modern map having so many straight lines on it, I think our brains, when they see a map without straight lines, are like, something's wrong here. There's something missing. So, I like to integrate straight lines every now and then. But as for our next country, we have a small one over here. This is basically just Ecuador. And haha, surveying issue, this doesn't line up at all. Yay. I'm sure everyone will love that. Right, guys? Very good. So now we're left with this territory here, and there's not much else to really divide up. So we're going to have one country here, this dark green one, and we'll have one final one in the center over here, which will look something like this. Beautiful, isn't it? No, I'm just joking. I'm not very proud of this one. I'm just going to throw in some more major cities around here because honestly, we are lacking the major cities in South America. Now, of course, big ol' Amazon rainforest right in here, so we have to kind of account for that, but I don't want this country to have 0 major cities because otherwise it would not be sustainable. But there we go, this is our South America map, and as for this country's color, let me think about it for a second. I think pink works pretty well here. I might shift it around a little bit. There we go, we'll work with that. So this is our new America's map, completely independent, and this looks pretty good, and this looks like it's going to be a lot of fun for this series. I envision a lot of wars and fun stuff happening over here. And with all these new fun countries about, the old world is going to have a lot of fun selling them stuff, like their old equipment, or I don't know, whatever they need. So the old rebuilding world, which is at this point basically like the Square team and all of their old allies, are going to benefit tremendously from all these new countries. They're basically saying, here, buy all this stuff off of us, we don't need it, give us your money, which may not make a lot of sense because how valuable is the money of these guys? I mean, probably not anything too special. I mean, the Canadians, they all agreed to use the same currency, kind of like the European Union, so that's cool. And they're also working to kind of implement and maybe even merge their currency with these other ones over here. So yeah, that's good. Even the orange one is kind of getting involved with this. And the same thing is said about the South American, Central American, and Caribbean nations. They all use the exact same currency, which I guess we'll just call it peso for easiness. But now we move over to Africa, and this is where it might get a little bit challenging for me in drawing in these new borders because, well, there's a lot of very vast open land here, and there is literally no province help. I did use the provinces very slightly over here. Yeah, but there's like nothing to work on over here. I mean, I guess there's a little bit over here in Ethiopia. That's actually it though. But something important to note about this region is the African Union and the Old Empire will work together to divide up Northern Africa, at least. Southern Africa, where the Brown team was, that's going to be on its own, but Northern Africa will receive the assistance of the African Union and the Old Empire. The African Union also plans on implementing its own currency into Northern Africa, and the Old Empire has really no issue with this because they're not interested in Africa too much. I mean, they're kind of interested on this northern coast, but as for now, they're chilling and rebuilding. They're also able to resolve this very small border dispute, which has been here for a little bit. Yeah, it was pretty simple to fix. These guys really didn't care too much. That was more of a European thing, they didn't want to be like, oh yeah, just take it. No, they're like, hey, that's my land, screw off. They're stubborn, they're stuck up, they're Europeans. Which is the theme in this timeline. I'm not making the accusation toward the real life Europeans at all. But the first country receiving independence here is going to be Libya. Now this isn't, of course, the actual Libyan country. They don't exist in this universe. But they basically control the same area as Libya does, plus a little bit of Algeria, and then down over here into Egypt and Sudan. But my main point is that I will not be calling them the red team, I will be calling them the Libyan team. Because calling countries by their colors can get confusing and also boring. So our first African nation is released, and you might be thinking to yourself, that's a lot of red in this continent. Don't worry, spoiler alert, the Irish country is going to be decolonizing very soon. Next up, they will be coming over to this colony, which I believe was the green team? Perchance. But the old empire will be dealing with the division of this one. So now we have these two countries here. The old empire dealt with their borders and they are stable and ready to go. Are they friendly with each other? We'll find out in another video. But all I do know is that the European colonizers left these guys with some horrendous borders. I mean, what is this? You might as well just sell that thing to Libya because, I mean, what are we looking at? Or maybe the old empire. Then we move over here to this colony. This one's pretty simple. Nope, not at all. It ends up looking like this. Horrible, confusing, and poorly divided up. I'm sure we definitely won't see a civil war happening here in the next couple of episodes. Totally not. But now for this big old mess over here, the previous colony of the Dark Scion team, which, oh, I was about to say they don't exist anymore, but apparently they do. Now the African Union will once again be handling the division of this one, so let's see what they're able to do. Alright, so that's not bad for one country. Looks pretty good. And then we have another one down here, one down right in here, one over here in the center, and then one over here. So now we have this big territory here. I'm not going to keep going in progressive order. I'm just going to go ahead and divide it up. Alright, so here is all of northern/central Africa, and I'm loving it. It looks great. Zooming out, this world map is looking very fun. And it looks like there's going to be a lot more civilization series happening. We're reaching the age of very many countries, and this is kind of parallel to what happened in real life. After World War II, decolonization happened, and tens of new countries joined the world map. We're seeing that same thing here, but now we go over to South Africa, and this one's going to be a little bit more interesting. This colony is governing itself very well. They will go ahead and release Madagascar on its own though, just because it's, you know, all the way out there, it's harder to control. But they will form into their own country, which is this peach color. I really am starting to struggle with color countries here. Color countries? Colors. Yeah, but once again, not spoiling anything. This might not stay like this for too long. Remember, these countries are just dividing themselves up. It's not like any official thing. You know, they might still have some beef with each other and they might have to work that out. You know, some countries still have to assign official borders. So just bear with it for now. It might change. But that will do it for Africa, and we can move over to Oceania, one of the last areas on Earth that need to be decolonized completely. And they like to keep it simple. They will just stay together under one country. There will be no divisions, and they will just break away as colonies and form their own countries. But now we get over to China, which is a colonizer at this point, but they will soon be releasing their colonies down here. So first of all, they released their Australian one. It stays together, no issue. New Guinea is then split into two with a southern and northern part. And they also release 5 different island countries. Bougainville, the Solomon Islands, and Fiji, and you know, all that stuff. Now China only holds on to Taiwan and the Philippines, and the world is kind of confused about the Philippines. Are they really like a colonized area, or are they simply just a territory of China? We'll find out in a later episode, but that will actually do it for today's episode. The world has been decolonized. It looks magnificent, in my opinion. And I'm super excited to, you know, start to expand upon the lore once more and see what this new world looks like, one that is influenced and pretty much ruled by Russia and the old empire. If you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. All the support is greatly appreciated. Make sure to leave some comments with your feedback, although I'm not sure how helpful that will be because the next 2 episodes are pre-recorded as well. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. And of course, thank you to all our super fans. This includes Georgie Badev, Deathstrider X, Arentine, Hammertoad45, Connor the Gamer, Poland Country Ball, Nevada Garbage Trucks, and DW Cool Dude. Once again, thank you guys.